Hi, this is Kaylee with more fiery fiction from the Caffieri Library, exclusively for our Patreon supporters. Did you miss me? So sit back or lie back and let Cristiano Caffieri tell us how the other half lives, and more importantly, loves. Today's incredible erotic chronicle is entitled A Little Bit of Rough in the Buff. Siobhan had the figure of a model and all the trappings of a billionaire's daughter, but she tended to be attracted to gentlemen of a humbler, less refined station in life than her own. On weekdays, when she had nothing to do, Siobhan liked to drive through working-class neighborhoods in search of men with rough-hewn hands and rudimentary manners. Rusty Ryan was standing at the bus stop in front of a dollar store when an Aston Martin Vulcan pulled up beside him. Siobhan rolled down the passenger window and smiled. "If you're not too fussy about the company, I'd like to offer you a ride." Ryan's fellow frequenter of public transit looked on in astonishment. What did this goddess in a $2.3 million car and sporting a $2,000 hairdo want with a guy who looked like he drank discount beer? True, he was fairly good looking under that 2-day stubble and messy hair. Ryan also possessed a smoking hot physique from years spent laboring on a construction site. At least one woman in the line then realized what Siobhan was interested in. Rusty gave her the once-over, smiled like a guy out of a men's underwear ad, and replied, "Yeah, why not?" Then he indicated the line behind him and said, "You got room for all my friends?" Cheeky bastard, she thought, and let out a small laugh. "I'm afraid it's only a 2-seater. Apologies, folks. I'm afraid you'll have to wait in line for the next Aston Martin." The crowd appreciated his jest. Siobhan was practically creaming over it as she opened the door for him. Ryan entered and parked his faded jeans down in the passenger seat. "You've got a set of bloody balls on you, I'll give you that." Ryan looked down at his crotch. Didn't think my jeans were that tight." "Yeah, I've definitely made the right choice here," she thought, as little Miss Eris hit the accelerator and headed out for the Long Island countryside. Siobhan drove way too fast with her short skirt rolled back halfway up her thighs. She wore a skimpy top with no bra, which caused her wonderfully looked-after breasts to bounce in a most provocative way as they flew along the ill-kept side road. Every time she changed gear, her skirt seemed to go up even higher. What with the incredible shrinking skirt and her tits doing the dance of 1,000 jiggles, Rusty was developing a fairly sizable erection. Every so often, Siobhan would sneak a peek at the bulge in his Levi's 505s. She appreciated the fact that she was just driving and he was already straining against his dungarees. Yes, it was going to be an exceedingly fun afternoon once they reached their destination. Before they reached it, if she got lucky, Siobhan spread her legs as much as she could in the cramped driver's well. Rusty was thinking that he could get used to this kind of life. Fast car and an even faster woman. And rich people get to do this kind of shit all day long, he silently sighed and placed his hand on her bare leg. She did not resist. In fact, the feel of his calluses on her smooth skin sent little streams of chills up from her purebred pussy and hardened her nipples. Siobhan knew exactly where she was going and couldn't get there fast enough. Rusty was just beginning to slide a little closer to Funtown when she slammed on the brakes. "Sorry," she giggled. "You distracted me and I almost missed the turn." Down a long dirt driveway, they shot towards what appeared to be an abandoned cottage. "Huh," thought Rusty. "I was expecting a balcony overlooking the sea and ordering champagne and Astroglide for roof service. She doesn't mind splinters in her ass. I don't mind fucking her on the floor." Inside, though, it was an entirely different story. Although the exterior could have used a coat of paint and a little landscaping, the interior was done up to the nines. It was just a 2-room bungalow, but it was obvious that money had been spent on this little love nest. The bed itself looked like it belonged in an episode of The Tudors, not an unassuming cottage. It was a big 4-poster job made out of ancient carved oak. The Egyptian cotton sheets Dozens of pillows and bread draperies were all blindingly white. Perchance his little rich girl had some sort of fairy tale complex? His host quickly disposed of her clothes and bid him to do the same. "We are here to fuck," she announced. "So let's get down to it, shall we?" "My clothes aren't designed to be so easily removable," he smirked. "Why don't you make yourself comfortable and I'll join you in a couple of minutes." "You cheeky little bugger," she thought, absent-mindedly stroking her grim. "You're the luckiest fucking construction worker in North America right now. You should be tearing that shirt to get to me." Siobhan wanted him more than ever. Rusty slowly took his shirt off. Let's just say it was well worth the wait. His six-pack and pecs were truly a wonder to behold. Little Miss Moneybags threw herself backwards onto the bed and spread her legs, exposing her delicious ripples of pink. Rusty undressed a little faster. She was a little bossy, but what he was seeing awaiting him on those ultra-expensive sheets might be worth getting bossed about a little. "I want you to chew the edges of my cunt with your teeth," she instructed. "Not too hard, but just as if you were eating a cream cake." Now that he'd received his marching orders, he prepared for duty. Luckily, Rusty was an enthusiastic fan of muff diving, and he was more than willing to push his face in between her thighs and start to nibble. He was grateful that she'd spread her legs, because if you lick a young damsel's labia, you do it straight up and down. But to gnaw on her num-nums, Rusty had to turn his head sideways, so he appreciated having the extra room. He must have been doing something right, because Siobhan spontaneously shrieked out her approval as he munched on her malleable mound. She thrashed her arms around wildly on the bed like a panicked pelican. Rusty now felt emboldened to follow his own initiative and began to eagerly lick her wet, slippery slit from top to bottom like a big, friendly dog. This sent her right over the crazy cliff. Siobhan bucked her hips like she was receiving electroshock therapy and grabbed Rusty's hair so hard, it's amazing it stayed on his head. His face was now jammed so tight into her pussy he was finding it hard to breathe. Valiantly, Rusty continued with his clam jousting until the rockets went off. And boy, did they! She felt like his tongue was firing photon torpedoes up her happy hole. Her thighs slammed against his ears as her clit became a detonator button, setting off strings of cum crackers in her ovaries. She was still trembling in the afterglow when Rusty decided it was time to get some fresh air and climbed on top of her. The first thing that caught his attention while he was up there was a great view of her exquisite tits. She had nipples that looked like 2 raspberry wine gums floating in lakes of caramel. He grasped them firmly in his hands, his coarse skin scratching against her nipples. "Oh, more of this," she thought, enjoying the pain a little too much. Although she enjoyed having her fun bags battered about, the call emanating from between her legs was getting too loud to ignore. "Fuck me," she suddenly demanded. "Stuff your filthy fucking fuck stick into my dirty, slutty cunt cave." "Shit, this chick sure has a mouth on her," Ryan assessed, but not wanting to disappoint his demanding temporary girlfriend, he grabbed the shaft of his cock and plunged it in deep. This was just the kind of abrupt penetration Siobhan was hoping for. Her eyes almost popped out of her head as it slammed up inside her. "Fuck me and pound my pussy as hard as you can," she begged. "Tear me in two." Rusty decided to do a little play acting. The idea of inflicting pain, even on someone who seemingly called for it, was not his thing. He pumped his arm muscles and put strain on his face. He appeared to be a crazed fucking madman as he fucked the living shit out of her, but he was being far more gentle than his wild gyrations made it seem. "Keep it up," she cried. "Fuck me harder and harder." Now she was getting what she wanted, and he was riding in style. Then, bam! She slammed her heels into his calves. Her long manicured nails tore into his ass cheeks. Siobhan bit his shoulder. "If she doesn't come soon, there's going to be nothing left to drive home," he thought, and quickened his pelvis thrusts in hope of setting her off. It worked. She clung to him like the alien creature clung to John Hurt's face as wave after wave of climactic spasms laid waste to her abdomen. Despite the lower body pain and the injury to his shoulder, Ryan managed to catch the climax train. Huge globules of man-jam coated the deepest recesses of Siobhan's inner sanctum. She somehow reached up between her legs and clutched his nutsack so hard he saw stars. Before he could even cry out for a medic or his mother, his lethal lover tossed him onto his back and made a beeline for his dripping knob. She sucked Winded Wiener forcefully into her mouth and drained it of any residual baby batter, and then spent the next couple of minutes orally cleaning every square molecule of his penis, balls, scrotum, and sphincter. With her business completed, she coldly ordered him to put on his clothes and drove him back to the bus stop without a word. Rusty still takes the bus to work, but now he wears a hoodie and sunglasses, just in case a certain Aston Martin should be driving through the neighborhood again. The end. Wow, you really have to be careful when you decide to take public transit. Well, my wonderful Patreon ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, I'll be back next week with another brand new exclusive tale from the Cristiano Caffieri library. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. I'm always interested. And if you get lonely in the meantime, you can always watch this video again.
Well, I know it's only love.